Today, we're going to talk about how mainstream media failed Caitlin Clark and her fans by not making the right arguments when she was not assigned a spot in the Olympic team. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our channel. I'm Mark.
And I'm Rob.
So, hey, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. Hit the notification bell when you do so you get notified of our next video. And join us on our live show from 6 to 8:30. And from 6 to 7, we have this new sports reporters type format with three people who are podcasters, Caitlin Clark, and we have a nice forum going on. That's from 6 to 7 every Monday except for major holidays. And Rob, guess what? Something came in the mail today.
Oh, yay.
Let me just see
our
what
shirts.
this is.
Our shirts.
Just see what's going on here. Wait a minute. I don't know what this is. Could be big news. I don't know. Let me see. Let me see. Let's see what came up here.
Hey, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Perfect. Seed,
all right.
Seed 22.
Can you see that, everybody?
Yep.
CC Delusional C22 fan.
There we go.
Rob and I got shirts. Mine, of course, was a medium, and Rob was a double extra large.
What are you trying to say? Hey, what are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say that you're taller than I am, Rob.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought.
We're both official Delusional Caitlin Clark fans now that we got the T-shirts. I saw them on, by the way, shout out to Ken Swift, who made our promotional thing for that show that we just talked about on Monday night. And that's how I saw about those T-shirts. It was in his he does a great column on the X about Caitlin Clark. He has the best column about X about Caitlin Clark anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so today we're going to talk about when Caitlin Clark was not put in the Olympic team. The announcement came on June 8th. It was a Sunday. The following day, the sports world went crazy, especially First Take on ESPN. Stephen A. Smith is the host of that, and it used to be with Skip Bayless, and now it's with Shannon Sharpe. And then they actually have a bunch of women on it, too, occasionally when they want to talk about the WNBA. Andrea Carter and Chiney Agumake.
And what color are they, Mark?
Well, they're black broadcasters, Rob. In fact, all four of them were talking about this white woman.
Right. Okay.
So I don't like Stephen A. Smith. So I'm only going to play a short amount of him because that's all I can take.
Yeah.
Just to get the point across. And we're going to show that first. And my point is, and as you'll see, is they really blew it by making the wrong argument. They should have made an argument that she should be on the team because of merit. And they didn't. And that really became a problem later on when they tried to say, hey, you guys were wrong. Look at how well she's playing. Well, they go, well, you guys were just arguing marketing. So I'm going to show you how they blew it. And Dan Patrick and Reggie Miller. This was Stephen A. Smith's first comment.
It's stupid. And I'm going to tell you why it's stupid. I want all the ladies on this squad to know every single one of y'all are deserving of it. Caitlin Clark does not deserve a spot ahead of any of the players on this roster.
Mistake number one, Rob. Right there. Donna Taurasi and Chelsea Gray did not deserve a spot on the roster.
Exactly.
Correct?
That is correct.
Mistake number one for Stephen A. Smith.
Right.
Okay. If we're talking just basketball, you know we're not. You know we're not.
Anyways, he goes on, and I can't listen to him because
it makes you want to.
He keeps emphasizing. He never says anything about Caitlin Clark's ability. All he talks about is marketing. That's all he talked about at all in this particular thing. So now Shannon Sharpe actually began it earlier in response to the women who was basically, I'm not even going to go over the excuses they made for why she shouldn't be on the team because we all know what they are.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to play what he said.
So if we're trying to go, because we have a precedent here. This is not like this is to be the first time that we're adding a WNBA player. Because you remember in 2004, they put Donna Taurasi on this team. You remember in 2008, they put Candace Parker on this team. And in 2016, they put Stewie on this team.
Look at the looks on their faces, Rob.
Right.
You know he's making a good point here, but
Yes.
he does make this point, but he never talks about her ability. He just talked about the precedent. But go on.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying Caitlin Clark is going to have the career that these, but we have a precedent.
All right, let's stop right there. Yes, she is. She's going to have a better career than all of them, but he doesn't know basketball. But go ahead.
Here, they put the men's team, added Christian Laettner. In 2012,
I don't know. He goes on, Rob, but he doesn't talk about her ability. In fact, I'll
added Anthony Davis because Blake Griffin got hurt. To highlight some of the things that you said, Chanae, is that hadn't played all year. Chelsea Gray hasn't played all year long. So what are we doing? Are we really?
They never responded to that part, Rob, in the video.
Yeah.
At some point in time, we've got to stop talking about we trying to grow the game. Because listen, is she as accomplished? Will she ever be as accomplished as a Stewie, as a Asia Wilson? And I believe those two, obviously, they're slam dunk. They're the two best players in the WNBA.
I mean, I'll give him props for giving out the point and looking at their faces. He's putting exactly what we were saying. Gray hadn't played the whole year, yet you're going to put her on the team.
But the problem is at least Stephen A. Smith just talked about marketing. And you guys blew it. At least he made these arguments. But the problem is he never makes the argument that she's good enough to be on the team. I'll continue with this.
He's really trying to grow the game because this is the most popular women's basketball player in the world. And it ain't close. They had to move the Mystics game to an NBA arena.
Right.
Name the time. And I'm going to turn it over to you because I don't want to get long-winded. I want somebody, one of our women colleagues, Stephen A., to tell me when a WNBA game has had to be moved because of a woman player. Just one. Just tell me one. Because I know in her attendance, she's averaging about 17,000. All the other WNBA games in which she's not a participant average about 7. So are we really trying to go to games?
Look at their faces.
Yeah.
Is that what we're really trying to do? Or are we just talking about we're trying to grow the game and just bull jiving?
So that was his first argument. Now, Rob, this was such a big deal. They went at it again later on in the day or later on in the morning, because I have another excerpt here where he talks about it again. Now, I'm not going to play Stephen A. Smith because I can't handle him. They continue discussion later in the morning. I don't know how long this went on, but you can tell by the same clothes. It's the same first take. Sometimes it's like it's a 2-hour show, but this is third opportunity for Shannon to speak. And let's see what he has to say.
Go ahead.
I want to say this, and then I'm going to be done. I'm going to let you and Andrea take it over from here. Every woman that's on this team, the 12 women that were selected, are very, very deserving.
But Rob, again, why are they saying that? Why are they conceding that point? Right. I don't understand. They know that Diana Taurasi and Chelsea Gray aren't deserving. He just said earlier she'd only played one game and she's coming back from an injury.
Right.
Okay. So go on.
To make a long story short, and I'm sorry that I went long and I was very, very passionate. I believe that the U.S. women's basketball team missed a golden opportunity to bring their most marketable player and have her on the biggest stage for the world to see. That is my only point. I'm sorry that I was passionate and I brought a lot of other topics into this to make my point. I believe the biggest woman star basketball player in the world, as far as eyes and far as dollars, would have been a big help to women's basketball. That's it. Y'all.
Now, why did he apologize for bringing in?
I was going to ask, why?
What?
I'm sorry, Mark. Why did he apologize for making the most valid points, except for saying she's one of the greatest players? All the points he made were spot on and were valid. And I guess they had the meetings in the ladies' room again, and when they came back on, he kind of like, oh, I'm so sorry, I made points and made. Why are you sorry? You were correct, but then he went into the marketing thing. Like, why are you saying marketing? That's not the reason.
It drove me crazy watching this again, because he said all those women are deserving of being on there. That's not what you have to argue. You have to argue some of them have to be off because they don't deserve it, and Caitlin Clark, she has to be on. You can't just say, oh, marketing, let's just take deserving women off it. You're going to lose that argument, and you're going to lose it later on. So this is why it was stupid of Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith. It was stupid for them to just argue marketing. Now, Shannon Sharpe actually argued a little bit more with the tradition of the college,
Right.
and also that Chelsea Gray winning, but he never argued that Caitlin Clark was playing well and had good numbers and that she was a 2-time player of the year in college and that she was a great passer and they had no point guard.
Right.
Simple arguments like that every best WNBA fan knew at the time, and their numbers were good. And
you had two players that were I was going to say wounded, but they were injured. 2 players that were injured. Yet you're going to put them on the team only because one wants to get another gold medal, and the other one you think that she's still good, even though she hasn't played the whole year. And
Diana Taurasi sat out with a couple games with injuries a couple weeks before the Olympics. In addition to her being old and already a problem, defensively. So
and as we saw, Mark, it kind of was a detriment to Gray and the Aces, because when she played, she still was hurt. So then when they had regular season, that's what happened. If she had rested and waited the goal is the Olympics, but they probably would have been in the finals against the Liberty if they had a healthy Gray.
Right. And Shannon Sharpe goes on a 4th time on that show. Stephen A. Smith did several times too. And never in any of this, an hour-long show, 2-hour show, did they ever say Caitlin Clark deserves to be on there because of merit, because she's a good basketball player. They never said, well, she's got great numbers for a rookie, and they'd be even better if she wasn't getting bad calls by the refs. She didn't have a lousy coach. She wasn't on a lousy team. They were like 1-9, at the time. Stuff like that she wasn't double teamed and triple teamed each time. She had teammates that were against her. All these obstacles, and she still put up great rookie numbers.
The league against her, not just
the whole league was against her.
The league was against her.
So you got to argue, 1, she's got great numbers, and 2, they'd be even better if she wasn't having these obstacles.
Right.
They didn't know enough about basketball to even make these arguments. Caitlin Clark, as we all know, has a phenomenal year, and after the Olympics, she went gangbusters, and she gets rookie of the year at the end of that, and they're trying to throw it in their face about not putting her on the Olympic team, about the dumb arguments they all made. I'm not going to go over them. You all know the dumb arguments they made about why she shouldn't be on the team. And they would have a great, great argument with them and made them look really bad if they had argued that she should have been on for ability-wise, because you could see her potential and her ability at the same time, given what was happening.
But they were scared. They were scared of the 2 black women because they know how black women are and you could see their faces when he started pointing out and it kind of proclaimed her as the best player and their faces, they were like, oh, I can't believe this. I can't believe you're saying this. And you just see, they didn't have to even say that, Mark. You could just see their faces, how they were thinking, how wrong that was. And why are you building up this white woman? Why, you should be sticking with the blacks, with the sisters. What is wrong with you, Shannon?
Right. Well, you could tell by their faces. You could tell by their faces, Rob, they knew they were wrong. It just seemed obvious to me. I'd love to talk to a body language expert or something like that in terms of the look on their face, but it seemed to me they knew they were wrong.
No, you don't need you saw right there the body language right there. You don't have to be a body language specialist to see that their faces they were all put out. You could tell they were all put out.
Right. So they go and bring this up again. Okay, Rob. So you can see this is later on. This is 5 months, and the other one was 8 months ago. And this is after Caitlin Clark played really well. And this is where the problem comes in, why their weak arguments that they made in the first time.
You all weren't making a basketball argument. You weren't making a basketball argument.
We're not saying
No.
So you heard what she said, Rob?
Mm-hmm.
You weren't making a basketball argument. So they tried to throw it in her face, and she just said, you weren't making a basketball argument. And she's right. For once, she's right.
She's actually right. Mm-hmm.
Even though they were wrong about her not being on the team, she's right. So it goes on here a second. And this is where Shannon Sharpe becomes very dishonest, in my opinion, pretending she made that argument. I just showed you everything that was – I didn't show you the 4th clip with Shannon Sharpe because it was really long. But he said nothing – just trust me, he said nothing about Caitlin Clark's ability and why she deserves to be on the team. And this is what he says now.
Andrea, I'm not going to let you do that.
Go ahead.
Andrea, I'm not going to let you make it seem like Caitlin Clark was averaging 5 points a game. At the time, she was still averaging 16 points a game, which was more than a lot of other guards that made the team. So don't do that. Don't make it seem like she was averaging 5 points and this was like a handout.
No, it wasn't a handout.
Look at her numbers
Shannon,
comparable to the other guards that were on the team.
Why didn't he argue that 3 months before, Rob?
Right, exactly. Why did he wait till 3 months after? That should have been he should have argued at one point and then included that along with it, and that would have shut them up completely. They would have
along
nothing
with
to
the
say.
college argument, Rob, along with the college argument that he made,
Yeah.
which was a good one, but that was an obvious one that everybody knew, and some people didn't make enough. Those are the stats for Diana Taurasi, for Candace Parker, Brandon Stewart, Sylvia Knowles. Those are the stats they had in the WNBA before they got put on the Olympic teams. Zero. They didn't play in the WNBA. They all got assigned to the Olympic team because of how they did in college. Those are the blank stats that had in that. And there was stats that we have available, and I'm going to show them to you right now at the time of the Olympics. And let's see.
When in reality, I think there is totally legitimate arguments, and I rarely feel this way, on both sides of this. I think if you want to say she is not good enough yet, that's fair. The numbers would say she's probably not. She's not good enough yet, and it's the Olympic team, and giving her a spot takes one away from someone else. It is also totally legitimate to say,
wait, giving her a spot takes something from someone else.
We can afford having.
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
This is Nick Wright from First Things First at the same time also. And he's going to bring up the stats with her and Diana Taurasi just to show you.
Right.
And I disagree with that. I think in fact, again, he doesn't discuss the obstacles that she had that held her numbers down.
Someone who's the 20th best or 24th best instead of the 12th best.
She was not the 20th or 24th best.
24th best.
Because of what it would potentially do to grow the game. That's legitimate. And I also think that door somewhat got open brew by Diana Taurasi's inclusion. So Diana, and we can show you their numbers. They're having a shockingly similar season. So points and rebounds basically identical. Field goal percentage is identical. Caitlin has way more assists and way more turnovers to go along with it. Diana has very few assists, very few turnovers. So they're Caitlin's not yet in her prime. Diana's past her prime. Diana.
So those are the stats right there. I brought that up because he made some points and it was in there. And those are the stats that they had at the time, if you can look at it. They are similar, but as you can see, Diana Taurasi was averaging 1.6 assists. And Andrea Carter's argument was, well, you got to have Diana Taurasi in the team because she's used to throwing it in the post to Brittany Griner. I go, she's not throwing it to anybody. 1.6 assists.
Yeah. And he even made but then he tried to make the point that was similar, and again with the turnover thing. If she's averaging 1.6 assists a game and then 1.5 turnovers a game, I don't know, Mark, I'm not a math major, but
well, Ken Clark's turnovers at the time were high, but they wouldn't be high on the Olympic team. They were high because she was playing on a lousy team with a lousy coach and she was getting double and triple teamed. We all know those turnovers were going to go down. They did. Her assists went up. They went down slightly. But that's why her turnovers were so high.
But I'm talking about
Taurasi. Look, sorry, Rob. Diana Taurasi wasn't being double teamed and triple teamed.
Right, but I'm talking about Taurasi's. You're averaging 1.6 assists and 1.5. That's not very good. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a math major. Though Caitlin had more turnovers, but with your percentage of one pass a game and then one turnover a game, it's almost like zero.
Well, the problem I have is that they don't take into consideration the difference in the playing situations. Diana Taurasi was not being double teamed and triple teamed. Right. She was playing with a team that she'd been played with for 20 years. Caitlin Clark was on a brand new team, and her numbers were still as good as Diana Taurasi. And even though people criticize Caitlin Clark's defense, some of her on-ball defense, it was better than Diana Taurasi's this year. And so Diana Taurasi was such a detriment on defense during the Olympics. She didn't play in the finals.
Right.
So that's the argument they need to be making. And Caitlin Clark gets a lot of blocks and assists, even though she's not a great on-ball defender. She's a good defender. And she also gets a lot of rebounds. And so she had more rebounds than Diana Taurasi at this time. So Dan Patrick is on talking to Reggie Miller. Okay, this is Reggie Miller on the Dan Patrick Show at the same time. And Reggie Miller, if you don't know, is the younger brother of Cheryl Miller, who was the greatest basketball player of all time. But just keep in mind that Caitlin Clark may surpass that, and keep that in mind when Reggie Miller says this.
Like, who would you take off that team?
Here's the
easy. Diana Taurasi and Chelsea Gray. Okay, go on.
The people who are upset about Caitlin Clark not on the Olympic team were not going to watch the women's team to begin with. Now you put Caitlin on there, now they want to watch it. So they're not even it's not a true fan. I mean, they're kind of faux fans. Would I like to see her? Yeah, but I wanted to earn it. And then
Mark, stop. Please stop. What do you mean earn it? So they're not true fans. Yes, they are, because they're sticking with her. They're true fans because they're not going to watch because we didn't watch it because she was not on the team. So they're true fans. Earn it.
In not in women's basketball, but in the Olympics, I've watched every women's Olympic basketball game since 1984. In fact, I think every women's Olympic basketball game ever since I've been watching the Olympics in 1968. If it was on, I watched it. I watched because I'm a fanatic about the Olympics. So it's not even true. I've watched until this year, until this Olympics, I watched it every time.
Right.
So it's just the opposite of what he's saying.
Right. And
then he says you wanted to earn it. And then he says one other thing. It goes a couple seconds, and I'm going to stop it.
And those players will accept her when she's earned it, and they'll
accept it when she's earned it. She had earned it. They just didn't accept her because she was going to get all the attention. Right. And Dan Patrick does talk about this in 3 videos, and he never brings up the obstacles that Caitlin Clark had in terms of how she was playing, how it was affecting her numbers or anything like that. He just says, I don't think she's one of the top 12 players in the league, and that's why she shouldn't be on the team. But she never addresses Diana Taurasi, Chelsea Gray's injury. He really lets me down, Rob.
He's
a great broadcaster, but
he didn't do a good job there.
Well, I can show you. I mean, I didn't want to, go on forever with this, but Dan Patrick talked about it several times, and he basically said, well, she's not one of the top 12 players in the league. I don't think she should be on the team for that reason. And that's what he's saying, even though, she was obviously more talented at that time than Chelsea Gray or Diana Taurasi in terms of contribution to the team. But he never made that argument. Again, never made the argument that she would look better if they weren't double teaming and triple teaming her, or that there was precedent for all the other Olympians, including Diana Taurasi, to be on right out of college.
Yeah, and Reggie's a goof because he didn't know what the hell he's talking about. Who'd you take off the team? Who'd you take off the team?
Well,
that was easy.
Listen, his sister is seen as the greatest women's basketball player of all time, even though the WNBA didn't exist because she blew out her, I guess she had an ACL tear when she was 26 and the league hadn't existed yet. And I agree that she is. But I think Caitlin Clark's going to be better than Cheryl Miller. She's going to go down as the greatest basketball player of all time in women's because she makes her teammates so much better. And she does a lot better than Cheryl Miller did, even though Cheryl Miller was a great all-around player. But right now, it's still Cheryl Miller in my mind. So Reggie Miller's thinking this in his mind. Caitlin Clark is a threat to his sister being the greatest basketball player of all time.
He's thinking that because his sister used to beat him in basketball and make him cry. That's why he's thinking.
Because he knows how good she was. And I agree with him. But she wasn't great at making her teammates better. She was just a great player. I'm not saying she wasn't good at that. She was a good passer, great defender, great rebounder, great scorer. She was great at everything. But she didn't have the impact on her. I've watched her championship game her freshman year, her sophomore year. I watched the Goodwill games 2 years later when they beat the Russians for the first time. I've watched all 3 of those games. I've gone back and watched it. I watched all 6 of her games in the Olympics in 1984. She didn't make her teammates better like Caitlin Clark does, but she was a great player, and she looked like she was 1.5 times better than anybody else in the 1984 Olympics. So I'll admit that. So at that time, she was two-time champion and 1-time player of the year. In 1984.
All right, so we pointed that out. These charlatans who didn't know what they were, at the time, knew nothing about why they didn't emphasize the right points as far as why Caitlin Clark should have been on the team. And then the women just sat there with their mouths gaping, and then you got Miller saying nothing, and then disappointing Dan Patrick, who just talk about earning it. I mean, earning. You have to earn yourself to be on the Olympic team. Earn your spot.
He didn't talk about why Diana Taurasi didn't earn their spot. Chelsea Gray didn't earn the spot. She was injured. They took Kawhi Leonard off the team because he was injured. Why didn't they do the same thing with Chelsea Gray? Well, you know why, because then they have to put Caitlin Clark on the team. So my whole point is this twofold, is what Rob just said. They didn't make very good arguments. And then they couldn't throw it in their face months later after Caitlin Clark played great and proved how good she was, because they didn't make the right arguments in the first place. So they blew it.
Right.
Mainstream media blew it. It was the podcasters like us and everybody else who are Caitlin Clark podcasters who made all the right arguments in the first place. So we can throw in their face now because we made the correct arguments in the first place, because we knew Caitlin Clark was good enough to be on the team at that time and should have been.
And Dan Patrick, we were the fans. You said they weren't true fans. We were the right fans because we didn't watch the Olympics, because we were Caitlin Clark fans, and we knew that she got shafted. So for him to say something like that, they're not the true fans. They would, we're fans of the game because we see right and wrong.
Good point, Rob. So we're right about this, and so was all the other Caitlin Clark fans that thought she should have been on the Olympic team. I have to end with a quote from Paul Pierce when he said, he was on a show because he thought she should be on the show. He said, "This is the biggest ball drop since New Year's Eve." I guess that's the best way to end it. They really screwed it up by not doing that. It's going to hurt the popularity of the league internationally for the next 3 years, Rob.
Exactly.
She wasn't on, because she's going to be in 84. Yeah, it'll pick up, but they blew it internationally, popularity too.
Yeah.
So it's unbelievable. Anyways, that's our show. If you like this video, hit the like button and let us know what you think in the comments down below. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so with the notification bell. When you do, make Rob happy, so you get notified of our next video, and join us for our live show 6 to 8:30. And now we've added 6 to 7 Eastern time, obviously, PM. And we're going to have sports reporters type format. We got 3 other podcasters that come in, and we talk about Caitlin Clark for an hour. It's a really cool show. It was a big hit last Monday. So please join us for that.
Caitlin Clark's crossovers.
Caitlin Clark crossover is its name. So please join us for that, and you donate to the channel yet. You can with super chats and super thanks down below, and there's a link to PayPal. And we'll see you in the next video.
Peace out.